Hi, this tutorial gives you an overview of our newly released English language arts apps. You can see here we have from pre-kindergarten all the way to the 11th and 12th grade here. Let's just take a look of our English kindergarten here. And you started with the flash screen and it will take you to the home menu here. All right, so these are the categories of all the lessons that was defined based on the Common Core state standards. And the home menu here, this button here is a cloud button here. If you click at it, which will take you to the cloud lessons, and you will need a Wi-Fi connection for this particular feature here. All right, and we get into more detail later on. Now let's just exit that one here. Now this button here is for you to do a setup here. We will go into that a little bit later on. And the button in the middle here will allow you to play the slideshow, which allows you to play every lesson in this for this grade here. And the search button will allow you to search by keywords. So if you have hundreds of lessons, you want to look for a specific lesson that you do not remember, then you can always do that there. All right. So let's say, we started with the story times, and that's K.RL.1 means the reading literature for the kindergarten, the standard number 1. And obviously you can scroll up and down here. This just give you a preview of all the lesson here. And if you decide to play any lesson here, you just tap at it. But let's not do that now. Let's go ahead, just keep going to what else do we have here. This button here is for you to create a new lesson in this folder. And this button here for you to play the slideshow for all the lessons within this folder here. And the search button here is also available here. And the setup button here is the same thing here, which allows you to make a few changes to the setting here. And that obviously is designed for the advanced user here. Now the home button will take you back to the main menu, so that's pretty clear. Now, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main category, and there are 2 additional category. One will be for you to practice any lesson you want to just to test it out, or there is a button here. There's a folder for parents, which allows you to communicate it to students' parents, and that's something that's for you to share. So let's take a quick look of these setup button here. All right, so it's a little bit boring, but basically that give you a lot of control over how you want to have your lesson play or create here. Now the first one here is enable lessons voice recording. So all the lesson samples we have here, we do not have any voice recording. So but majority of the lesson that you created ultimately would have some instruction. So so you will want to turn on. So very easy. So you simply just slide it or just tap at it. It would turn on, and tap again, which would turn off. And interactive mode here is this button here. So you can turn on and off here. Interactive mode here allows you to continue the lesson after it is being played. So we explain a little bit more later on. And interactive timer will allow you to set the timer, which from 10 seconds, 20 seconds, all the way, and the default is no limit. So interactive timers basically is to limit the time for the student to respond after the lesson is played. Okay, so the show lesson detail, which its default is on, which it will show every part of the lesson when it is created. So it is a default setting. If you turn it off, so you would go straight, just have the image. Here in this section here, will allow you to log in and register. Registration is not required. However, we do recommend you to register, and in order for you to publish the lesson, you will have to register. Otherwise, you can share the lesson with your students or peers by through email. And only the registered user can browse a lesson, multiple lessons at a time. But you are able to download one lesson at a time through the cloud. So there's good control here called remove my lesson from clouds. In other words, if you publish the lesson, you're not obligated to keep them forever. So you can delete the lessons that were created by you. Okay. Now the last one here in this category is publish. So if you decide that you want to share your lesson, you can just turn this button here. Turn it on, okay? Then in this case, it will ask you to register. So which is something required just for the protections of our children and students. Make sure people are responsible for what they publish. Okay. Now here, the remaining here, let's just quickly go over that because it would take a long time if you really want to get to really advanced here. Now custom setting here, set password, which is very important. If you set the password, the lesson will log all the setting here. So student and children can only play the lesson and interact with it, but they cannot create lesson. They cannot change the setting. So that's the purpose of the password. And you can also allow you to arrange any lessons you created in any order you want, which is very powerful database management for your lesson. So in other words, if you create hundreds of lessons and you can store it offline and bring it back to your lab here, and you can also arrange any sequence you want to. So so especially good when you play a slideshow mode here, that will allow you to play the lesson to the exact sequence that you desire. Okay, we get into a little bit more detail on the menu mode here, and so let's just skip that. And there's a very good feature called Manage Stamps. In other words, if you create your own stamp here, I don't see that many apps in the store allow you to actually create your own stamps. Not to mention that allows you to manage those. So this is something we can talk about in our future more advanced tutorial. And hey, this is really cool. We added the lesson playback speed and lesson pointer image. This is our speed draw feature here. These are normally it will cost you about $5,000 have you to create a lesson using the the speed draw feature here. But here, it's included. Everything included, so you can set the playback speed. So if you create a lesson in your normal speed, you can play back 2x to 20 times faster. So all you have to do is just set the speed here. In our case, we set it to 6 times speed. So it's play back pretty fast here. Okay, so tap cancel, you go back there. You can also choose the pointer image here. In our case here, and we have 20 image allowed you to select. You have a left-hander, right-hander, you know, a cursors or even some robot or hands or just something pretty cool depending on your student. And so that's how that works here. So we currently have chosen one of them. And another great feature we added to the English language art is the text-to-speech here. So you can turn it on by set it to American English. So in other words, if you are shy, like me, you don't want to speak in some of the lessons you created, you can actually have the text-to-speech on and have to read it out to the student. But also having this on here allows you to have any of the text you create in your lesson that will automatically read it out to your student here. So again, there's 3 speed you can set up. You can just leave it the way how it is, and you have additional control over this. So the default here is to view mode only. In other words, the text-to-speech will not be turned on unless you ask it to play. So that's how simple it is. Okay, now before we conclude that, let's just show you how a lesson works here. Let's choose a lesson called, very simple lesson called Butterfly, right? Let's just watch how that works. All right, this lesson doesn't have any audio background here, which can be turned on very easily. I'm actually going to demonstrate that to you in our future lesson here. So this is playback. Remember, it was set at the 6x, meaning that 6 times original speed here. So that's how that works here. And this butterfly here. And all right, and that should be the first part of our tutorial. Thank you.